This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. They've blazed a bloody trail.
They put the fear of God in people.
The on, and we need to go strap up.
They're a mob-like gang of killers.
They're an actual organized crime family. We refer to them as the Sopranos on motorcycles.
With a vicious dictator at their center.
He is probably in the top 2 or 3 most evil people I have ever arrested.
John Napoli was a gangster.
They're the Breed Motorcycle Club, and they'll stop at nothing.
I don't think we even gave a just don't with us.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Cradle of Liberty is the nation's 6th largest city. Its nickname, the City of Brotherly Love, suggests kindness and a generous spirit. But this otherwise peaceful city has a major problem. Outlaw biker gangs. The Warlocks, the Pagans, and even the notorious Hell's Angels all wreak havoc here. There's one gang that is more violent and ruthless than all the rest. The Breed.
Every single person in it was absolute maniac and dangerous as they came.
The gang's headquarters are 22 miles from downtown Philly in Bristol Township. The Breed may be the most secretive biker gang in the country, and just speaking about the gang to anyone can mean death. Big P asked to have his identity concealed.
Every single time that we were out, there's drugs, alcohol, pretty girls, and Breed members. It's just a combination that usually results into something bad for somebody.
Big P was just back from Vietnam when he joined the gang in 1971.
Most of the time he ran into people that had something bad to say about the Vietnam War, and I was the bad guy.
The Breed formed in 1965 and quickly gained a reputation as the most violent gang in the Philly area.
Everybody knows the Breed, knows of the Breed, and the reputation of the Breed as being violent, don't mess with them.
The gang's standard operating procedure: eliminate everyone. Jeff Antonucci spent 10 years battling the Breed.
They would hang out in the bars and approach the owners of the bars. They wanted to get paid, and if the bar owners or the businesses balked at that, they would bring their club members and take over the entire establishment.
Not all confrontations were about extortion. Some were just for fun.
Some idiot comes in the bar, he goes, "Which one of you bikers are Wale?" The whole bar, they just said, "We all are," and they proceeded to beat this guy's head in. Never found out who was the guy's old lady.
The Breed is smaller than mammoth clubs like the Hell's Angels, but their 200 members are spread across the Northeast and Midwest. And they don't let their size hold them back.
If you look at a club like the Hells Angels or the Outlaws or the Pagans, they come with mass numbers. There's thousands of them. The Breed doesn't have that amount of numbers, so they need to gain respect in other ways. Beatings, assaults, firebombings.
They call the Philly area home and are willing to defend their turf at any cost.
It didn't matter if you were a larger club or a nationally recognized club. If you came through that area and they didn't know about it, they would confront you.
Many take any challenge personally.
I think what makes the breed different is that they're a homegrown club. They live and die where a lot of them were raised and born.
This also plays into their secret culture. Usually friends of friends are selected to join.
If you look at that whole club, they're all pretty tight-knit. Nobody's really from far away.
Smokey asked to have his identity concealed. He'd always wanted to be a biker.
If I was going to join a club, it was going to be the Hells Angels because, you know, growing up, you always heard of the Hells Angels, the Hells Angels. That's what I wanted.
Smokey changed his mind about joining the Angels shortly after he opened his own motorcycle shop.
The day I opened the shop might have been the worst day of my life, actually.
It was the day Smokey met the leader of the breed. John Jr. Napoli was vice president of the Pennsylvania chapter of the breed for 4 years.
He come down to my shop and said, I heard you're joining the Hells Angels. And I said, it doesn't matter who I join. He goes, well, you're not going to join the Hells Angels and have a business in my area.
Napoli had built himself a ruthless reputation.
Napoli's reputation in Bristol was don't mess with Napoli.
By 1995, Napoli had already been in and out of prison.
Stabbing, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He did 4 years of state prison for that crime.
Just a young thunderhead. Always looking for some kind of excitement to do.
Napoli grew up around the gang. His dad, Harry, was an original member. But John was a different type of biker.
He doesn't have the typical biker persona. He's not tattooed. He doesn't have a long beard. He doesn't have a ponytail. And he very rarely rode a motorcycle.
But Napoli's ambition made him a force to be reckoned with.
I think John Napoli wanted to be more of a mobster than a biker. The breed gave him the mechanism and the tool and the backing to do what he wanted to do.
Napoli wanted absolute power. As soon as he became a member of the breed, he started angling to be a chapter president.
John Napoli increased the levels of violence greatly, and that many of his actions were done to put that message out that the breed should be feared.
He started taking substantial steps toward that. He was involved in a couple vicious assaults on civilians.
Kirk Schwartz asked to have his identity concealed.
He ran it like a mobster by insulating himself and isolating himself. If you look back at the mafia cases of the past century, they were typically the same.
There was a method to Napoli's madness. He wanted the breed to take control of crystal meth trafficking in North Philly. They were already selling in Bristol, but Junior saw the opportunity to make millions. To do it, he would take out anyone who stood in his way. January 2003. Thomas Burke was a breed prospect. As a recruit, he had to follow the orders of full members or risk their wrath. John Napoli asked Burke to deliver a half-pound of crystal meth to a customer in New Jersey. Burke refused, breaking the cardinal rule for a prospect.
John Napoli wanted him to do some specific things, and Thomas Burke balked at it.
Napoli was furious. He would teach Burke a lesson. March 8th. Burke was invited to John Napoli's house. There, he was cornered by 3 breed members. They beat Burke, viciously kicking and stomping him until he passed out.
He woke back up, he tried to regain his composure, and at that time, Napoli attacked him again with a cordless drill and began putting drywall screws in his arm.
Burke passed out again. Then, Napoli took it one step further. He doused Burke with lighter fluid. Then, he took out a lighter.
He was going to set him on fire inside his own house until he was stopped by one of the other members who said, "John, you're going to burn your own house down." And that's the only thing that prevented that.
Burke barely survived the attack, but he refused to file charges, fearing for his life. Napoli had thrown down the gauntlet. It was either his way or a vicious beating.
I think they were so loyal because they feared him. They saw what John Napoli was capable of. They did not want to be on the receiving end of what John Napoli was capable of giving them.
Philadelphia has a proud working-class history. But the city is home to some of the East Coast's most violent nonconformists. The Breed Outlaw Motorcycle Gang. These brutal bikers take pride in scaring everyone.
They put the fear of God in people, and that's what they did. They terrorized. They terrorized.
Intimidation has been integral to the gang from the beginning. The Breed was born in 1965 in Asbury Park, New Jersey, about 64 miles northeast of Philly.
If you talk to the Breed members, they're just a bunch of motorcycle enthusiasts who don't necessarily conform to society. If you look at it from an law enforcement standpoint, they were an organized group of vicious people, and anybody who stood in their way, they would confront them and use violence.
One of their founding members was Salvatore DiUlio, also known as the Old Man. To this day, DiUlio inspires almost cult-like devotion.
The Old Man is capable of almost a Manson-like attachment to somebody. You got a lot of people that gravitated towards the guy.
DiUlio had a volcanic temper that often got the better of him.
Crossing the Old Man is not necessarily a good idea. You might just get punched in the mouth. You might go to the hospital.
By 1971, the Breed had grown to 1,500 members, and DiUlio was officially made the national president. The gang embraced the outlaw image, riding Harleys and fighting wherever they went.
I remember a guy, grown man, in shorts, come into the bar, interrupting 2 Breed members speaking. We beat the out of the guy and threw him outside.
The Breed also sold and used methamphetamine.
We're making money, we're having a good time, and we're certainly whacked out of our minds. You could party, drink, keep partying, drink, do some more partying, drink, as long as you pretty much wanted to.
Many early recruits, like Big P, were Vietnam vets who had trouble readjusting to civilian life.
The lifestyle is really boiled down to that. We're just not going to take any
They had expanded beyond Jersey and established 13 chapters, from West Virginia to Ohio. In Ohio, they started to butt heads with the country's largest and most powerful motorcycle gang, the Hells Angels.
The breed chapters in Ohio were leaning on the Hells Angels, and were actually doing quite a good job of it.
What began as bar brawls soon escalated and turned into an all-out war after an incident in Cleveland, Ohio. March 7th, 1971. About 150 breed members and 24 Hells Angels showed up to the 4th annual Motorcycle Custom and Trade Show. The Angels prepared for the inevitable battle.
They knew that the breed was going to be there in force. They came in the night before, and behind the stage put all sorts of weapons, guns, clubs, knives.
When the breed showed up the next day, security wouldn't let them in with weapons.
The Hells Angels were very smart about it. They set the breed up and cornered them.
The battle was brutal. It lasted just 2 minutes, but 4 breed members and 1 Hells Angel lay dead. 2 other members of the breed were castrated by the Angels during the melee. The battle was the bloodiest in biker history, and the war wasn't over.
We're now formally at war with the Hells Angels. The shit's on, and we need to go strap up.
In the 80s and early 90s, instead of expanding like most gangs, the breed chose to strengthen its presence in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. They did so through an unprecedented campaign of violence.
At one point, about 35 members of the gang walked into the Blue Fountain Diner, and they confronted a gentleman inside, asked him if he was enjoying his breakfast, and then began beating on him and broke a beer bottle over his head. 2 off-duty policemen were also severely beaten during the brawl.
Police weren't the only targets. January 1998. Stars and Bars, Long Branch, New Jersey. This strip club had become the breed's hangout.
Well, the breed could come into that bar on Friday night. They would have the dancing girls there or whatever.
Mike Campanella worked undercover for 2 years tailing the breed. He says National Breed President Salvatore the Old Man DiIulio was acting like he owned the place and allegedly abusing some of the dancers.
If the old man, Sal DiIulio, wanted a girl in the back room or whatever he wanted to do, he put an order out, and these guys would make girls come back there.
The gang had become bad for business.
They flat out would take them in the back room, tie them up, and have a great old time. The stuff that a lot of people fantasize about.
Then the gang went too far.
Every time the music stops, the patrons are listening to screams from the back room.
One of the dancers was beat up so brutally that she lost her teeth. She was chained to a chair. She was made to perform oral sex on members of the breed. Ultimately, later that night, was taken to the hospital and told not to say anything to the police or you'll find yourself dead.
The abused dancer eventually went to the police anyway. The old man and 4 other breed members were arrested and charged with sexual assault. In the end, 1 breed member pled guilty. The old man and 3 other breed members were never tried for sexual assault. John Jr. Napoli would take the message to heart.
He would do whatever he needed to. If that meant putting a drywall screw in your arm or burning you, he would do it.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The outlaw biker gang, The Breed, rules this blue-collar area with intimidation and brute force.
They had a mission. They wanted people to fear them.
To gain that fear, Breed members operate as a unified force. Absolute loyalty is demanded from its members. No exceptions.
They stand beside each other through thick and thin. It doesn't matter if you're in a fist fight or a knife fight or a gunfight, they expect you to stand next to each other.
The gang's guiding principles, which they call their bylaws, were in part created by Breed founder Salvatore "the Old Man" Diulio.
It all boils down to the fact that you have to love the lifestyle, you have to love the motorcycles, and more importantly, you have to love your brothers.
Even more importantly, you have to be willing to TCB. By committing crimes and following gang mandates to move more meth.
They're not afraid to commit whatever crime they need to commit to do what they want to do. Whatever their particular goal is for that day, whether it is they're going to go out and get drunk and beat somebody up because it serves their purpose, that's what they're going to do.
The gang's hierarchy includes chapter presidents and vice presidents, a sergeant-at-arms in charge of protecting gang members, and the treasurer. Overseeing it all is the National Breed president, who is still the old man, Salvatore Diulio.
Everything is insulated in their criminal activity in that a soldier may receive orders that's coming from the president, but he doesn't talk directly to the president. The president talks to his trusted people who relay the information further down to the club members who receive instructions on what it is they're supposed to do, and they do it without question.
You pledge allegiance to the club when you join the Breed by taking an oath. Only then do you earn its colors.
There's the top rocker, which displays the name of the club, the center patch, which is the 13-star American flag, and the bottom rocker, which is the territory of which that particular member is associated with.
That's to be your most prized possession. They care more about their colors than anything.
The center patch is a U.S. flag with 13 stars to symbolize their 13 chapters when they were at their largest. Sometimes a black bar is placed across the flag to honor fallen brothers. To get his colors, a biker has to go through a rigorous rite of passage designed to weed out the weak. During this time, he's referred to as a prospect.
Once you're a prospect, you had to do anything a Breed member asked you to do, whether it be something illegal, a crime.
They were asked to transport drugs, store drugs, sometimes put their name to make things appear to be more legitimate, such as renting storage locations, on vehicles, on weapon registrations.
There is no set time limit for how long prospecting lasts.
Well, for some reason it wasn't that difficult for me. I had my flag gun in 5 weeks. I've seen some prospects be prospects for almost a year and a half, 2 years, because they just didn't get it.
Once a prospect is voted in, he gets his colors and is considered a full member or flag holder. And once you're in the gang, there is no easy way out. The gang's creed: breed forever and forever breed.
If you want to leave the Breed motorcycle gang, you have to have a real good reason and put a request in. If the request is valid, you can get out of the Breed. But on normal circumstances, you're catching a beating.
Instead of the traditional 1% diamond patch, The Breed models theirs after a woman.
The Breed class patch is the Breed's 1%er patch.
The gang refers to women as old ladies and thinks of them as property.
A lot of the old ladies would wear a designation that says that I'm the property of Junior or I'm the property of Kicker. If a particular woman is wearing a belt or a patch, that she's the particular property of a particular club member, the other club members know to leave her alone. Anybody else is fair game.
The Breed's children wear patches too.
Your kids, they actually have product patches. And so if somebody says, whose child is that running by? Oh, that's Steve's, because it says product of Steve. So they say, well, hey Steve, you want to get over here and get your f***ing kid out of here?
The gang has other rules as well, including attending church. Church takes place at the gang's clubhouse.
We had a steel door on the outside, and in the back, they had a great big party pit. When you went inside, there was a big bar and refrigerators and a big cooking stove on the inside, and the rest of it on the second floor was sleeping quarters where some of the club members actually lived.
The clubhouse is the site of meetings, but more importantly, it's the site of Breed parties fueled by meth.
Methamphetamine was pretty much the drug of choice. It got you up and partying. You could get drunk, do a line of crank, start drinking all over again. Could go on for 3, 4, 5 days.
Not only do Breed members use meth, they also sell it to finance their operation.
I've been in Allentown for 10 years, and several years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, we did a methamphetamine investigation which led right to their door. They were selling methamphetamine on a regular basis. It's their main means of income.
In early 2002, the U.S. Department of Justice reported that the Breed was one of the most active methamphetamine distributors in New Jersey. By 2003, the Breed were making enough money that they were more profitable than gangs twice and 3 times their size. John Jr. Napoli was making sure of that.
John Napoli wanted to create a methamphetamine empire because the profit margins are substantially higher.
John Napoli was in the right time in the right place to become the king of crystal meth.
March 2003. In the Philly area, John Jr. Napoli was gunning to be president of the Breed's Pennsylvania chapter.
John Napoli was a gangster. There was never a single issue of remorse or anything heartfelt or anything repentant about him.
He had built a reputation on violence. Napoli nearly killed Thomas Burke, a Breed prospect, for refusing to do a crystal meth delivery. Now he wanted to take out the Pennsylvania chapter's sitting president, James Graber.
Napoli didn't like the way Graber ran the club. Graber wasn't about the violence and the mass methamphetamine trafficking that Napoli was undertaking. They had different philosophies about the Breed and what it stood for.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. They're the most violent motorcycle gang in America.
They'll stand, they'll fight to the end.
They are nomads, sowing terror and fear wherever they ride.
We're the toughest giant in the valley, and you gotta back that up.
They are the Pagans, and their motto is do unto others then split.
Absolutely, positively. Gangland.
Pennsylvania. From its steel mills to its sports teams. This is blue-collar country, where people have been molded by harsh city streets and a Puritan work ethic. Its largest city, Philadelphia, has always identified itself with tough working-class heroes, like favorite son, Rocky Balboa.
Philadelphia has a reputation of being a tough town. You know, their fans are tough. They like to see their sports teams win, and when they don't, they're not happy.
The city of brotherly love can be anything but. The criminal underbelly of Philly has always been evident. Jimmy D, who's ridden these streets as a pagan, knows it well.
One for all for one. Let's die together, let's fight together, let's together. That's the bond. The motorcycles and the brotherhood. Everything that comes after that comes after that.
For 10 years, Jimmy D and the Pagans ran Philadelphia with brute force.
It's always been pagan territory, always been their turf. They've always let other biker organizations and biker gangs know that this is our place.
The Pagans are a one-percenter club that proudly proclaims its outlaw status.
99% of the people in this world live by society's rules, obligations, and socially accepted behavior. 1% do not. 1% are outlaws. The world, this is what we live by.
This philosophy has led them to become the most secretive and nomadic of the large motorcycle gangs. They don't have national or chapter clubhouses. They don't like law enforcement to even know where they're from, opting to forego patches representing their home state.
What they have is 300 to 400 members.
The Pagans' territory can be found in states like Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, Maryland, and Virginia. Their sheer brutality often makes up for being outnumbered.
What defines them is their propensity to do violence. They're a very violent group, they're a nomadic group. They are to themselves quite introverted as a gang. A lot of antisocial behavior.
The Pagans have been linked to assaults, theft, and extortion, as well as weapons and drug trafficking.
From menial bullshit, nothing, to murder.
Jimmy D is proud of his life as a one-percenter. He joined in 1972, giving up a college football career to pursue an outlaw lifestyle.
What happened was I was working in a gas station at night when I was going to college. At 3 a.m., there's only 2 people out, cops and robbers. So the Pagans would roll in after the bars closed on their motorcycles. I got to meet them, know them. One thing led to another.
Jimmy D's life took a turn toward the dark side. That's when he developed what he calls his jacket.
The violence in my jacket is part of being a pagan. Most of that was barroom brawls, inter-club wars, bikers against bikers. All of that is part of being a pagan. That's everyday life.
Bottom line is, you don't take crap from anybody.
Denny asked to have his identity concealed. He was taught to value brotherhood and violence above all else.
Just all go down together. You know, you go in together, you walk out together. Simple as that.
Denny got to know the Pagans in New York.
You wanted to ride on Long Island and wear a patch, you were pagan. That was it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
It wasn't long before he felt like part of the crew.
I got to here and there, and they always had my back. I'd have their back, whatever, so it worked out good.
Denny joined in the early 90s. His sponsor made sure he knew who his enemies were from the day Denny swore his oath.
I went to his house and said, listen, we don't want you to prospect. We want you to be a pagan. I want you to make sure that you know we're at war with Hell's Angels.
The Hells Angels are the Pagans' mortal enemy and the largest motorcycle gang in the world. Denny never forgot it, becoming a loyal and effective soldier in the war between the two gangs.
You ever smell old blood? Pulling teeth out of your knuckles, pulling teeth out of your axe handles, pieces of brain. I mean, I've seen some up beatings, some nasty.
The battle between the Pagans and the Hells Angels has been raging for decades, often with deadly consequences. February 23rd, 2002, Plainview, New York. The Pagans gathered at a bar called Diamonds. Many had traveled from out of state, including the crew from Philly. Dave Henenlotter, a Nassau County detective, was there that day.
You had guys from all over the regions coming. Some of them didn't even know why they were coming up. They were told, hey, we're going on a run, you gotta go to Long Island.
A run is a trip the gang takes together. This run was a mandatory, meaning the gang didn't have a choice.
Mandatory is someplace you're going, whether you want to or not, whether your wife's having a baby, whatever's going on, you're going.
When the Pagans arrived, they were told to get ready to do battle with the Hells Angels. Their enemies were holding a tattoo and motorcycle convention called the Hellraisers Ball at a nearby convention center.
This was the first event that the Hells Angel had sponsored in Nassau County.
The Pagans felt it was an insult for the Angels to be holding an event on Long Island, a pagan stronghold. They wanted revenge and knew they'd have to pay a price to get it.
Some of these guys wrote their wills. They wrote wills on napkins. One guy, he left his motorcycle to his daughter. You know, so these guys prepared themselves because they didn't think they were coming back.
The Hellraisers Ball was open to the public, meaning there were plenty of women and children mixed in with the gang members. Henenlotter was doing surveillance at the event.
I was in there with a camera. I was in there like a regular civilian, taking photographs.
This man, Detective Smith, asked to have his identity concealed. He was working undercover with the New York State Police at the event.
There were more than 300 people, and outside there were several hundred or more.
Everything was real calm. There was no problem until Pagans showed up, and all hell broke loose.
Henenlotter was outside in the parking lot when the altercation started.
When the Pagans came up, they parked their cars along here, and they got out and they walked up here. The Pagans knew it was on because they all came out with clubs. You see them walking in with their axe handles.
Detective Smith saw the first pagan come through the door.
I hear this roar, and then within a few seconds, this pagan, well over 6 foot, well over 300 pounds, is yelling. He had in his hands a piece of lumber, not a finished axe handle or a 2x4, just a big stick.
The Pagans began pushing their way through the front door, armed with everything from axe handles to Uzis, to metal pipes and knives. Detective Smith noticed a Hell's Angel preparing to defend himself.
He produces a small semi-automatic pistol.
The scene erupted into a full-scale war.
When the Pagans go to take care of business, they go to take care of business. Repercussions don't matter. Results don't matter. It's brotherhood.
The Pagans pride themselves in being the most violent motorcycle gang in the U.S. These nomadic bikers spread their terror across the Northeast, intimidating anyone who stands in their way.
In their culture, they feel whatever they do is correct because that's what's been instilled in them. If they kill someone, they're killing someone because they felt it was appropriate, because that person had done something against the organization, something against the club.
As far as citizens go, you're above them. As far as guys in other clubs go, you're above them.
The Pagans' secret code demands that members must be willing to die for each other. No questions asked.
If you don't give a then you're the right man for the job.
This combination of brute force and brotherhood has defined the Pagans from the gang's inception. The origins of the club are unclear to outsiders. Some say it started in 1959 in Maryland and claim it was geared to racing motorcycles. The focus didn't last.
When we talk about outlaw motorcycle groups, we say gang. While they may have started in the 50s and the 60s as riding clubs, they did progress into traditional organized crime.
For the Pagans, the change took place in the mid-1960s under the club's second president, Fred "Dutch" Burhans. Members credit him with making the Pagans what they are today.
The president when I started was a guy named Dutch Burroughs. His policy was kill them all.
Dutch expanded the club, founding a half-dozen chapters in Virginia and Maryland. The early members wore swastikas to scare people, but claimed racism was never a part of the pagan code.
At one point I wore a swastika. It's the power of fear. It's part of getting the public's attention. Don't get me wrong, there's racists in the Pagans, there's racists everywhere.
During the early 1970s, Jimmy D and his brothers loved nothing more than riding, partying, and sleeping with as many women as possible.
If there wasn't group sex, I never would have joined the Pagans. It was one big orgy. Everybody get naked and jump in a pile.
The Pagans, led by Dutch, expanded north into Pennsylvania and forged an alliance with another outlaw biker gang known for violence, the Sons of Satan. The club's leader was John Vernon Marin, aka Satan. Then, in 1975, Dutch was shot and killed in a domestic dispute in Virginia. Satan folded his gang into the Pagans, and Philadelphia became their headquarters as they slowly took over the city.
There was a club called the Dragons, there was a club called the Warlocks, the Breed, the Wheels of Soul, the Thunder Guards. These were all clubs in Philadelphia. The Pagans shut them all down.
The Pagans' violent nature took root, and they became known for their quick tempers.
You'd be in a bar and one of your boys will get into some shit and you don't know what it's about, you're that, and you take care of it.
To finance their way of life, the gang got into the drug trade, focusing on methamphetamine.
The Pagans control the meth in Philly, always have, always will.
Jimmy D knew meth was the key to the gang's continued growth, as evidenced by this surveillance photo, taken of him dealing just 2 weeks after his initiation.
Meth is the key drug of most motorcycle gangs, most bikers. It keeps you up, makes you party longer, makes you ride longer.
The gang revered those running the drug trade, but the true power lay with the man behind the scenes.
The Pagans all worshipped them, looked up to them. What they said went. But the guy behind them was the cooker. The guy who made the meth called all the shots.
The Pagans cooker was an outsider who they called a citizen.
Before me, the club dealt with citizens, non-club members. They were the ones making the meth, actually mob guys. I learned off of a guy named Rock and Roll. He was a meth cooker. He was hooked up with the mob. He was at the time the best.
Jimmy D knew it was time to make his move.
I saw where I wanted to go. I just started climbing. I went up to be from a nickel and dime dealer to an ounce dealer to a half a pound dealer to a pound dealer to a cooker.
In 1979, Jimmy D became the Pagans' Philly cooker.
We made Pagan purple. All the meth I cooked was purple.
The purple is meth at its purest. To optimize profit, the Pagans' board of directors, known as the Mother Club, cut the drug before selling it on the streets.
I cooked the meth, Mother Club got the pure meth. Then Mother Club would cut the drugs as they felt and distribute it through their presidents, which went through the rest of the chapters and on down the line. It went from purple to dark pink to light pink to pure white, because cut is white. And every time you cut it, it got lighter and lighter and lighter.
The Pagans' secretive ways meant that only Jimmy D, the cooker, knew just how pure the drug was and what it was cut with.
Mannitol, it's a baby laxative. And the best part is, people used to do a line, snort a line of meth and have to go to the bathroom. And when they went to the bathroom, they would come out and go, man, that's good stuff, I had to go to the bathroom. Little did they know it was because they were doing baby laxative.
The Pagans cornered the meth trade in Philly. It fueled the gang's growth up and down the East Coast. Due to the gang's oath of secrecy, it's difficult to put exact numbers on the Pagans' size. At the height of their power, the Pagans had 900 members and 44 chapters spread from Pennsylvania to South Carolina, making it the nation's 4th largest motorcycle club. With the size came inevitable conflict with other big outlaw clubs, especially their arch rival, the Hells Angels.
The Hells Angels are, the Mercedes of the outlaw biker world.
The Hells Angels is probably the top outlaw motorcycle gang in the United States. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, and the Pagans being one of the strongest. But in terms of structure and the criminality that they do, they're pretty much equal there.
The Hells Angels were used to getting their way, but found the Pagans could care less. No matter how outnumbered the gang was, they would always throw down.
If there's Hells Angels and Pagans, they're gonna fight. If it's just Pagans and Pagans, sooner or later, one of these two guys is gonna end up getting into a fight with each other. So we just like to fight.
The Pagans didn't stop at taking on other motorcycle gangs. In 1981, the biggest gang in America, the Italian Mafia, demanded a piece of the Pagans' drug trade.
Nicky Scarfo was the boss of the Philadelphia mob. At some point, he decided that we were going to pay a street tax to the mob to be allowed to deal drugs in Philadelphia. He lost his mind when he thought that he could shake down the Pagan Motorcycle Club for street tax.
The mob was tired of the Pagans' refusals and tried to pressure the gang by kidnapping a drug supplier. Jimmy D responded swiftly.
I then got my crew together from my chapter, went down, and started kidnapping their people.
On February 26, 1981, Jimmy D kidnapped 2 made men. In a show of power, he forced them to drive through downtown Philly.
We get to Broad and Walnut. The driver, I got a .45 to the back of his head, looks across the street, and there's 4 or 5 cops having coffee. He says to me, If you're gonna shoot me, you're gonna shoot me now. Pulls up on the sidewalk with the cops, thinking they were gonna protect him. Got out of the car and started running.
Jimmy D was not impressed and showed no mercy.
I got out of the car and shot him in front of the cops.
The mobster lived to tell the tale, and Jimmy D was arrested. But his stint in jail would be short-lived.
Philadelphia was very corrupt. We had a lot of people on the payroll. I wind out getting out of jail on $750 bail for a shooting in Center City downtown.
His payoffs of the Philly PD meant it would be a year and a half before the case ever went to trial. The club's war with the mob would continue, but according to Jimmy D, the Pagans never paid tax while he ran the gang.
We're the toughest giant in the valley, and you gotta back that up.
The Pagans motorcycle gang has built a criminal brotherhood based on violence and drug dealing. They've stayed secretive and exclusive, maintaining their hold over their territory with their own set of laws.
Pagans live by pagan rules. Don't want to be judged by law enforcement. Don't want to answer to society's laws. Pagans answer to their own code.
This code is included in the Pagan Constitution, which governs membership requirements, the roles of women, and even the type of bike members can own.
It's got to be a Harley Davidson, and it's got to be 900 cc's or more. That's in the rule book. That's what it's got to be. This is an outlaw motorcycle club with more rules than the Constitution.
In order to wear the Pagans' name, members are expected to follow these rules. But Jimmy D says there's only one that really matters.
The first rule is Mother Club is God.
The Mother Club is what the gang calls its board of directors. The Mother Club sets national policy and club conduct. The chapters fall underneath its rule. The structure of the chapters is much like the military, with a sergeant-at-arms, an enforcer, and soldiers that come under the command of a chapter president, or what the Pagans call a diamondback. These leaders wear a 1% diamond patch on the back of their jacket. Their word is law.
You gotta listen to your diamond. You gotta do whatever your diamond tells you what to do.
The Pagans' ultra-secret nature is forged by this unquestioning attitude.
I could, at 2 o'clock in the morning, be in a bar and say to myself, let's go visit the guys in New York. Let's go visit the guys in Pittsburgh. The fact that we could float around and find a home within riding distance on a motorcycle was one of the best parts of being a pagan.
Though many want to become pagans, the road to membership is not easy. Denny's journey started in an unlikely way.
I met some at a party and wound up meeting a bunch of Hell's Angels, and I thought they were pretty cool cats.
The Hell's Angels asked Denny to join. His membership in the gang didn't go as planned.
And I was at a party a couple years later, and this angel tried to the chick I was with, and I wound up getting into a fight with him. I actually beat his ass, but then I got my ass beat by the rest of them. So I said, the Hell's Angels, and I started hanging out with the Pagans.
Denny liked the Pagans' rebellious and extremely secretive ways. He decided to become a prospect. It's a role that gave him many responsibilities with few rights.
Any pagan can tell you what to do, but you got boundaries. You won't take a bike, won't with your old lady, won't with your house.
Denny quickly moved from prospect to full member, eventually becoming a gang enforcer.
Some guy messed with somebody's old lady or whatever, and they called me and said, listen, can you handle this for me? And yeah, I got no problem with that.
He often didn't know the details. All he needed was a name.
I walked into this bar, I saw the guy, walked over and picked up a pool ball, and I bashed his skull in. and threw him out the back door. I got on my bike and I left.
When recruiting, the Pagans look hard for toughness, loyalty, and a do-or-die attitude that means everything to them.
Back then I could handle my liquor. I take care of business, I don't around, I won't take from anybody. I'm not an asshole, you know.
The Pagans' code means they also prize men who can keep their mouths shut. The gang has developed its own language to help members avoid the law.
Argo means Argo yourself, and none you means none of your business. What those words are used for is, for an example, we get grabbed by the cops. They bring us in. The cops start questioning guys. We just yell Argo Nunya to each other, which means we don't talk. The answer to every question is Argo Nunya. Argo yourself, none of your business. It's a code between each other.
The Pagans react when a brother is facing the system, often using their numbers to protect their own.
What you'll see inside the courtroom is 10 or 15 guys from the organization staring down the jury, staring down the witnesses, trying to intimidate the judge, trying to intimidate the prosecutor to make this case disappear.
The Pagan way also extends to the women who hang out with the gang. They aren't allowed to be members and are considered property of their men.
Women have a property patch, if they're lucky enough to have a property patch. The property patch says property of Jimmy D. I mean, that's my property. It's like my motorcycle or my car. It's my property. I own that. I do with it what I want. You buy a car and want to paint it, you paint it. I got a property and I want to turn her out to the bros to we her.
The club or its members come first. Business usually comes second. The bike usually comes third. The dog comes fourth, and the woman comes last.
In spite of how they're treated, there is no shortage of women who are willing to be Pagan property.
They like that bad guy, they want to piss off their dad or something like that, you know. Who knows what makes chicks do things, period. And makes them want to bang a dirty biker is beyond me.
It's unbelievable. It's like a magnet. The club, the lifestyle, the spotlight, the power tracks them like a magnet. There's more women dying to become a part of it than there are men.
The women often become part of the Pagans' drug trade. The gang will sometimes use them to carry drugs or weapons.
Some clubs use women for surveillance. They'll use it for, they use the women for intel. They'll use the women, put them in specific places for jobs.
The Pagans take extreme pride in their club colors.
That jacket means more to them than their family does.
You get on your bike when you got your colors on you with 30 or 40 guys. Everybody's riding two abreast and cars are getting out of your way and there's nothing stopping you. It's like having an extension of your, you know.
Their logo is on the center patch of their jackets.
The Hells Angels have that death's head that is a made-up character. The Outlaws have Charlie, who is crossed pistons and a skull. It's made-up cartoon figures. The Warlocks have Harpy.